Hello everybody, I'm Lynn Scanella and welcome to my podcast, Fruitful Conversations, where we chat to people who share their stories to teach and inspire us to be better versions of ourselves. Now, I'm not talking overnight transformation. I'm talking looking for something small, the little gems, the bits of gold in this podcast that might resonate with you and might inspire you or encourage you to think differently about something or do something in a different way. Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, I live in the Northern Rivers and I earn my living by a bit of writing, a bit of speaking, a bit of training, all around healthy, connected relationships, which happen to encompass personality styles and a whole bunch of fruit. Now, by the time I finish my podcast today, you're going to want to work for our next guest. Since 2001, Nikki Beaumont has been founder and CEO of Beaumont People, a recruitment agency. And I've never met a CEO that oozes such humanity and yet still succeeds commercially. Amongst other things, in 2018, she was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Recruitment and Consulting Services Association. And in 2019, Beaumont People were recognised as the 9th best place to work in Australia for companies with under 100 people. This is a CEO that really cares and a CEO that places people first. Let's have a chat to Nikki Beaumont. So Nikki, I love your philosophy of placing people first. How does this play out in reality in your workplace?
Yeah, thanks. You know what, the placing people first has only something that we've realised and been able to talk about more recently, but it's actually something that we've always done. So it's always been the way that I've thought about how you should run a business or a team or an organisation. And I realised that many years ago, but articulating it is only fairly new in the last 5 years within Beaumont People. So pretty much it means that my philosophy is that for a team or a business to be success, you really do have to place your people first and have them front of mind in your decision making, front of mind in looking after them, giving them the support, giving them the tools, making sure that the people element of it is right. Because the stronger that is, the better that is, the happier they are, the better everything else works in the organisation is. So that's pretty much the philosophy behind it. But for myself in a founder or CEO role, it really does mean putting your people at the heart of your decision making always.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I guess there's probably no better time to ask you how has that philosophy stood you in good stead through this year, this tumultuous and interesting year that we're having?
Yeah. Again, it really has stood us in good stead, and I think because you can look at the costs, you can look at the decline in jobs for us as a recruitment business, you can look at the cost-cutting measures you can do. People have reduced people to 4-day weeks, let people go, etc. But for us, it's been, well, let's just have a think about people first. These people who've got lives, who've, been loyal to us for years, who love the job, and who want us to be here as we come through and out the other side of COVID. So it's really been amazing at helping us make the right decisions moving forward. But more so than that, I think one of the things that I've learned, and actually talking to somebody yesterday, made me realise again how good we've been at this, is just communicating to the people is a massive part of that. And I've been really honest and really transparent through this whole journey this year, as we always are, but now more than ever, because people are feeling so insecure and people are so worried. So we've been a transparent, open company forever, but now more than ever has been the time to talk to your people, keep them communicated, let them know what's going on all the time, to make them feel that it's okay. You've got my back. You're not going to let me go next week, or the company is going to survive past this, or whatever it might be. I mean, we're actually in quite a good and a strong position, all things considered. But your people, at the end of the day, for us, they're the heart of our business. They are our business. That's all we've got.
I think so. I've always thought it's not that difficult if you look after your people. they will look after you. If they're happy, they're going to provide a great service to your customers and you're going to have more. So it seems to me an obvious thing, but not everyone thinks that way. And you're lucky enough in a small to medium business to be able to keep that culture, keep that culture alive. I know that you came through the GFC intact because you've been going since 2001. So this is another hurdle. How have you coped in COVID? Have you had to, you mentioned trying to keep as many staff as possible. Have you let people go? How have you managed over this year? And in fact, has your business been impacted much?
Yeah, look, we did let 5 people go at the very beginning of COVID. It was an awful, difficult decision because I would rather let nobody go. But,
Sure.
The people that we let go were generally very early in their career or on short-term contracts or working holiday makers, etc. anyway. Okay. But we've retained everybody else within the business and pretty much, people are on full pay, etc. We have been impacted because, of course, we're in the jobs market and jobs has, gone down, as we know, unemployment's gone up. So we've been impacted quite dramatically. We do a lot of work in the education sector, and as we know, the universities have been massively impacted. So that will impact us. We're not recruiting for universities at the levels that we were. But saying all of that, we've done all of the right things, and I'm very proud of how we've come through this. We've done all the right things to look after our people, keep the business intact, and do some different things, do some things that we always talked about doing but never actually got on with, like our career coaching side of the business. We developed that because we realised that there'd be a massive need for that. Unemployment goes up, people are struggling, need a job, need help. So we've developed that side of the business more. And webinars. We were talking about doing webinars for years, never actually got on with it. It was always something like, we continue to do face-to-face. I think we've done 18, maybe 20 webinars since March now.
And suddenly we've all got better at it and we're all learning new technology. Look, I have enjoyed this time for learning new skills. As you say, rightly, time to do things that you've wanted to do forever that you haven't had a chance to do before. This podcast is one of them for me. But you talk about, you opened a career coaching section. There's probably a lot of people out there, Nikki, who are either rethinking their careers because they have to, because they're out of work, or simply because they've had more time to reflect on the way that they're living their lives. So if I want to change my career, how do I go about it?
Yeah. Look, I would say find a career coach, absolutely. Because for the cost, the support that you get to help you change and pivot, articulate, dig into your strengths. One of the things that we do is strength-based assessment so that we can really work with people to go, what are your strengths? What are the strengths that you know? What are the strengths that you've actually got, but maybe you don't realize, which are always important too. But how can you articulate yourself if you are going to change your career to what you want to do, what's going to work for you, what you can do, and actually what you're going to be attractive doing in the market. So changing your career, it's not just about what you want to do, it's about what can you actually get. And when there's a lot of people unemployed, you've got to bear in mind that you actually have to look like the person that the hiring manager wants to employ.
Yes.
And many hiring managers have blinkers. Their blinkers are, I just want somebody who looks like what I'm going to hire. If I want to hire, let's say, a receptionist, I want to hire a receptionist who's been a receptionist before, because then I know she can be a receptionist. And that's not necessarily the right way to hire, but that's the way that a lot of people hire. So you do need to get yourself to look like the person that person wants to hire. And that's often articulating what you can bring to the party. But to be able to do that yourself is often really hard.
I agree, because we're too close to ourselves, and articulating or looking at your strengths and your skills is sometimes really, really difficult. I have a couple of lovely COVID stories that I'll share right here. One is two friends of mine. One who's always loved the outdoors and handyman work, building, doing things with his hands. He's been in an office role, a senior office role, for many years, which he has enjoyed. But COVID has allowed him to get an interview with Bunnings, and he's over the moon. So he's working with his strengths. And another really good friend of mine, also management role in aviation. There's anything to do with aviation tourism has just been crippled at the moment. Well, he's got a job after working with a career coach, he's got a job with an insurance company. Now, in my speak, his Lyme tendencies are so well suited to an insurance company where there's lots of rules and precision and systems and procedures. He's happy as Larry. So a couple of nice stories. I really agree with you. Getting a career coach helps you articulate where your strengths are. And it's lovely to hear that people work when they move into something else like this, hey?
Yeah, you just need that support. And I think we forget that we can actually do that for ourselves. Our career is a big part of our life. It needs to be right, So invest in it. You'll invest in going to the gym, or you might invest in, I don't know, whatever you do in your sport or whatever, but your career is a big part of your life. So it's definitely worth investing some time and money in getting it right moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned earlier that people are a little bit, people are worried, and I think you've really hit the nail on the head here. The world seems to be split into two at the moment: people who don't have jobs, or people who have jobs but they're working remotely. And Nikki, what I see at the moment is that people who are working remotely, everyone that I talk to and businesses I talk to, people are starting earlier and they're finishing later. They're worried that maybe they're next and they're about to lose their job. And then on top of it, it seems to me that businesses are demanding more. They think it's okay to give people Saturday deadlines. What are your thoughts around this, and how do you think it's going to impact our businesses long term?
Look, it's not necessarily something that I'm hearing a huge amount myself,
Okay.
but I think if that's what companies are demanding of their people, it's definitely not placing people first, and it's a bit of a short-term strategy. Yeah. Because of course, the moment the things turn and the job market picks up, and some people say we're going to come out of this with a boom. I don't know. I certainly hope we are. I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't know. But I think the thing is when the job market does change, people will jump ship. Yeah. So look after your people now, be mindful, support them in all the ways that they need to be supported. And if working early, finishing early, working late, finishing late works for them, see what you can do to work with it. Because I think expecting a lot more for people and putting them in a place where they're unhappy is short-term strategy. And it's going to be much more costly to your business if you lose good people and have to hire again in the future than it is if you look after the people that you've got and ride the wave with them. And you know what, I think, if people feel that they're supported and looked after, they do a good job, they do the right job. If people feel like they're not, they don't do such a good job always. The minute that they can step their foot off or go, shall I do that or not? You know what, I actually won't. Will I go the extra mile for this business? I actually won't today. I don't need to. I'm over it. I've had enough. This is a one-way street. So I think if that's the case, it's a bit of a short-term strategy. And
Well, I guess you wouldn't be hearing it because of the culture, and also the culture probably of the organisations you work with. But a lot of companies are telling me this, and it concerns me that people, I've worked from home for a long time. I'm highly disciplined. I'm able to do it. I also take time off. But it worries me that people are sort of getting up at 6 and still working at 10 o'clock at night, not taking. I just think I worry about what's happening to people at the moment. So it's nice to know that people like your team are in your care.
We're going the opposite way, if anything, Lynn. We introduced the 4-day week in February, just before COVID.
Now, that was my next question. That was my next question, actually, Nikki, about this, because everyone's been talking about 4-day week. This is a whole new thing, and you've been thinking about it forever. So when you first introduced the idea of a 4-day week to your management team, which ages ago, what was their reaction?
It's a fun reaction, actually, because when I first heard about it would be 2 years ago now, actually. And when I was so excited, I was like, I love this. And it completely from a people first, completely from imagine if we could give this to our people as an opportunity to get paid for 5 days and work 4 days and have that day off to go to the beach, you know, learn a new skill, spend time with their kids, whatever it is they want to do, exercise, get fit, I don't know, whatever. Imagine if we could give this to people, what a difference it would make to them. So that was completely my ideas around it. How are you going to make it happen? I had no idea. You know, for me, that's just something that you work out.
you're just the queen of fabulous ideas, I hear.
I am. I'm the queen of fabulous ideas, and they're not always fabulous. I think they are, but they're not always fabulous. But I took it to my managing director, Nina, and this was, oh wow, nearly 2 years ago, and her instant reaction was, no, I can't see how that's going to work. No, not interested. And I left it. I dropped it because, you know, there was so much other stuff that were going on. And in hindsight, Nina was right. It was probably not the right time for us to be thinking of implementing that. We had lots of other stuff going on. But it was later when I talked to her about it again that she said, well, actually, yes, I've been hearing more about this now and I would like to explore it. And when we took it to our management team, look, the response was 80% was, yes, what a great idea. Because I would like it too. So if I'd like it myself, but I don't know how I'm going to make it work with my team. And 20% of the management team was like, oh no, this can't work. I can't see how this can possibly work for my team. Yeah. Because I have people that need to do this and they need to be there every day. Yeah. So you know, but that's okay. I mean, we understood that's okay. We don't know how it's going to work either. That's what we've got to work out. You know? So
you only just started it before COVID. So I'm guessing that you don't have any results of how a 4-day week works yet.
We do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we do actually. It took us 6 months of planning before we started it. And of course, with the December, January holidays, that's why we started it in February. We put it on hold at the beginning of COVID just because it's based on productivity measures, and our productivity measures changed because, of course, job flow changed and a lot of things changed dramatically. Yeah. And of course, we're all working from home, which has changed. So we put it on hold and we just gave everybody half a day off. Everybody Friday afternoons off and said, finish work if you've done your work by Friday lunchtime, finish, that's it, you know, off you go. Just, you know, be on call should clients and candidates need us. So we did that. And then we brought it back in at the end of June. And so we're now another 2 months into it. And I firmly believe that our productivity is being kept higher than it would have been because of the 4-day week.
Well, that's interesting because obviously people have to perform. I'm guessing you want them to perform to 100% in that 4 days. You can't just be not reaching productivity goals in that time.
Yeah, if you meet your productivity goals for the next month, you get to do 4 days. And if you meet your productivity goals that month, so people go, I really value that day off. I'm going to make sure that I meet it. And we let people manage themselves. You know, we're not looking over people's shoulders. But it does, you know, they value it so much. They love it so much, you know, whether they're not all mums, you know, there could be people who just love to take the day for themselves and go to the beach or whatever, you know, they love it. Absolutely love it.
So you're saying your productivity has gone up in that time that you've been able to measure?
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure. And I think satisfaction of the people has gone up. The loyalty of the team has gone up. Look, satisfaction was pretty high anyway. But loyalty has absolutely, you know, people value that despite the challenges of COVID for the business, we still offer the 4-day week.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I'd really like to check back in a year and see how that's going because I personally think it's a great idea, but I'm a bit like you, you know, put the people first. And fortunately, you're one of the few CEOs that I've met that has, in my speak, that wonderful Apple, able to make a hard decision when they have to, and the mango, everything is possible. So that's a nice combination. I also noticed that you have Nina, who is your conscience, or is that there's got to be a better way of putting it.
Yes.
She keeps you in line. She brings, she
does. You know what, Nina and I, they call us Ninka in the office, Nina and Nikki. They call it Ninka because we're actually really alike in some ways, but we're actually not alike in lots of other ways. And what I love is that Nina and I work beautifully together. Yeah. You know, we might come from different angles and we'll come together and we'll talk about things beautifully, and together we'll agree what's the best way forward. So we really do support
great advice. But this is great in a CEO. You know, I heard actually a few years back that there was some CEOs in the US who were job sharing. So they basically had a strong left brain person, a strong right brain person. Together they made one whole brain. You've done that with Nina. You've got skills that complement and strengths that complement each other. And because we can't all have everything, if you surround yourself with people that have skills that you don't, perfect. It's perfect.
Yep.
Hey, listen, a little while ago, or quite a while ago now, I think you took a year off with your husband and your daughter to travel around Australia. That's pretty unorthodox behaviour for a CEO. What drove that? What drove that idea, and how did you manage it? Like, how did you do it, Nikki?
Yeah, yes, it is. But again, it's classic me. It's something that I've decided I'd quite like to do. I have no idea how it's going to work or how I'm going to pull that one off and make it work. But let's just give it a go.
Right.
We'll work it out along the way. It's definitely the way that I do things. It's the way that I opened up the business in the first place. I have no idea how to run a business in a country that I don't know, with no understanding of legislation, no connections, no relationships. But I'll open up a business and we'll work it out along my way.
And would you recommend that to all the other boys and girls listening out there?
Not necessarily, but it works for me. There is an element of, if you really want to do something, decide that you want to do it, and then just break it down into smaller steps. And then, go, what are the challenges and how can I overcome each of the challenges? Is actually certainly a good learning for me. Moving forward in so many other things that we do. Because of course, the idea of the 4-day week, like when I mentioned it to Nina, her first thought was no. But when we break it down into the challenges, it was easy actually.
It's doable.
But going back to the traveling around Australia, my partner Drew and I have always just really looked forward to being a grey nomad. My parents were grey nomads. They were traveling around Australia in a caravan, and we camp a lot, so we go to caravan parks and see all these people, traveling, and we were like, we can't wait till we're retired and we can do this. But it's such a long way off. And I was talking to somebody about it. I think one of my girls at work had decided to leave us to go traveling around Australia now, and she hadn't got kids or anything. And I was like, I'm so jealous. Yeah. And then it was actually Annie, the founder and the CEO of Cantu at the time, who said, Nikki, why do you have to wait till you're a grey nomad? Just because you've got a child at school, you can do it. My parents said it was me when I'm a kid, you can do it. And I went, really? Can we? And so anyway, it didn't take much longer before, a few weeks later, talking to some other friends, decided that actually this is what I wanted to do. And so, really it was a case of just taking it step by step. And going, okay, what are the challenges and what do I need to do to make that happen? So there's all the personal stuff, like, okay, I've got a house, I've got a child at school, I've got to buy a caravan, I've got to buy a 4-wheel drive, I've got to learn how to tow a caravan. Then there's all of the work stuff going. So what happens to my business? So who's going to manage things while I'm away? What are the things that I do that someone else can do? So it took me 6 months to put all of that in place. So appointed someone into a managing director's role, handed certain things over, trained certain people up, put systems and processes in place. And so it was really just a case of taking every little challenge and every element and breaking it down and working it out. And it was one of the best things I ever did, Lynn. Honestly, it was one of the best things that I ever did. It really was. And my partner and I still will not see a caravan without going, oh, I wish we could go do that again.
So what were the best, tell me when you say it's the best thing you ever did, why? Like, what was the result when you came back? The world didn't, the business didn't shut down while you're away. Your child didn't get behind in school. In fact, she's an overachiever. What a surprise. And, nothing drastic happened except good stuff, right?
Yeah, nothing drastic happened at all. Good stuff. Look, the best things that came out of it, one was it certainly taught me that the business did not need me necessarily every day. Yeah. It could run, and lots of other people could do just as good as I could and run a lot of things. Yes, it did miss me in certain things, and I realized that, but the business was fine, and there was really not a lot that couldn't be done without me. So it was certainly good to do that. The other things that were great were just having time with family and your child for a year. just the three of us for an entire year. It's a lot of time together. And not only do you spend 24/7 together, you don't get a lot of time apart. You're actually in a very small box most of the time.
Yes.
And I do see that as a privilege, because a lot of families just don't get that time together. That's a real
true.
privilege. It really is. And that was wonderful. I mean, there were times that we didn't get on,
Sure.
It's not all rosy. There were times
normal.
when we fell out, when I was like, I'm over this.
And there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go.
But it was a privilege. And of course, the other thing is, Australia is such a fantastic country. Oh my God.
If only we could get across the borders to see it.
I know, but when we can, even if the international borders remain closed, get out there and enjoy Australia, because it is such an amazing country, and I feel so lucky to live here. I may sound English, but I'm an Australian. I'm a real Australian in my heart, and in my head, I'm an Australian. Just my passport is English and Australian now, and I love it. I absolutely love Australia.
Look, I could not agree with you more. It is a wonderful and beautiful and such diverse country. And if this was a travel piece, I would keep you on the podcast for 30 more minutes talking about Australia. But I want to ask you one thing, because we're almost coming to an end. I wanted to just switch the pace a little bit. There was a study that came out last week or a couple of weeks ago, study of 194 countries. And it showed that countries who were led by women have an advantage in the current pandemic and have responded to the crisis better. So apart from the obvious, male-led countries like Brazil and the USA, who are led, I'll use that term loosely, by people who clearly have mental problems. Apart from that, what do you think about this? Do you think that women lead differently to men?
It's not something that I feel skilled to answer necessarily, Lynn, to be fair.
Nice
answer. I do, my business is led by mostly women. If you have a look at our website, you'll see that there's 40 people in the business, 38 women, 2 guys, just not necessarily by design. And my management team is all but one female.
Yes.
So from a personal perspective, I've generally always had women in my leadership team. And I think because we're such a people-led organisation, women do tend, I think, to come to the workplace with a lot more compassion and empathy and understanding, more than men generally do. I think we do come with a different, a different set of social skills,
perhaps.
But in terms of other countries and leaders, all power to the women, and I'm a big fan of watching what Jacinda Ardern does over in New Zealand. Can't say that I follow anything else, because of course if I even see a hint of that blonde-haired gentleman in the US, it doesn't make my day.
No, I think there's another topic for a podcast, but yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And I must say, by the way, this is there are men who are leading countries whose countries are doing really well, countries like Czechoslovakia and Greece. But it was just an interesting stat, and I think it's probably more personality led, I think, than gender led. And I'm not an expert either. I was interested in your opinion. I think perhaps a lot of men in those roles perhaps would take bigger risks than women.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm known for being a pretty significant risk taker in my business.
That's true. Yeah.
But I think there's risk, and there's risk with compassion and empathy and understanding the people within your business, rather than risk for power or status or profit or those types of things. So I think there's, depending on what angle you're coming from. But look, I don't think I'm really necessarily best placed to comment on those things, and I don't follow it at all. It's so far from my area of interest that I wouldn't have a clue who's leading Czechoslovakia or Greece or Spain or even the UK, quite frankly. I think it's time, but I haven't a bloody clue.
All right.
Australia and New Zealand is enough for me. That's my bubble.
It certainly is. And you happen to live in a beautiful bubble. So a quick question to finish with. A lot of people have had time maybe to reevaluate their lives over COVID, especially those people in the city who might be considering a move to the regions, where you and I both live in the regions. I don't know about you. I've never looked back. Have you, after moving out of the city, Nikki?
Never looked back. Oh my gosh, I feel blessed every single day. Absolutely. I love living here. We live in Byron hinterland and I absolutely love it. Yeah, never ever look back. It suits me. My background is I was born and bred country girl. You know, I'm not a city girl anyway. So, you know, some people are city people. That's fine for them too. But like anything, try it. You know what? Now's the time. I've got a few friends.
Just do it.
Yes. Well, while we're all locked down, I might as well, you know, rent my place out in Sydney and rent somewhere in the Central Coast or in Byron or wherever. Do it for 6 months, you know. And
I think this is a great idea. That's what I would say is if you're able to, rent first, get a feel for the community. And the other advice I would give anybody thinking about this is if you're a city slicker and you're not a farm chickie like Nikki, think about buying that farm or living in a town, because it's completely different, right, Nikki, when you're looking after animals. Everyone thinks they want a few alpacas and a chooks and to grow some vegetables, but it's not that easy for city slickers. So I'd be, you know, think about that really carefully before you make a move.
Yes, and we should have. We bought 120 acres. And so, you know, we've learned over the last 4 years what that means. And look, we've coped. We're still coping, you know, it's all good.
It's a pretty nice way to cope and a nice place to be.
Yeah, but look, I say if you think you might do it, what are your challenges? Work through them, break it down, and you know what? Just give it a go. And,
I think that's going to be put on your gravestone, Nikki Beaumont. Just give it a go.
Give it a go.
Thank you so much for talking. It's been a pleasure as usual. Have a beautiful day.
Yeah, you too. Lovely to see you.
Thanks, Nikki. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
I told you you'd want to work for her. She's such a beautiful hybrid of humanity and business, isn't she? Now, I especially love Nikki's attitude and philosophy of let's just give it a go, but not just give it a go without thinking, then to break it down into manageable chunks. Because when you do that, it really helps allay the fears that can paralyze us and stop us from moving forward. And I really love the way she cares for her people. She genuinely does. She places people first, and that's both her staff and her clients. So if you're in the market for some staff, head over to beaumontpeople.com.au and take a look. And also if you're looking at a career change, as we talked about, chat to Beaumont as well, because they'll help you with a career coach that can help guide you through the process. We'll put details in the show notes. And if you're interested in fruit, well, I got a whole website on fruit. We're about apples, mangoes, limes, bananas, and working and living with people that you just don't get. So my workshops are virtual, they're face-to-face, they're pre-recorded, whatever you want really. So head over to lynscanella.com.au and take a look. Now, if you've liked what you've heard, please subscribe so you don't miss any more chats. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. That would be nice. Or just tell a friend. Share with a friend so we can help grow our fruity community. Thank you so much for listening today. It's been lovely to have your company. Respect, connect, and thrive. I'm Lynn Scanella, and this has been Fruitful Conversations.